Good afternoon. This is Guy Etienne from Keller Williams Realty in Nassau County. This afternoon, I wanted to introduce to you the man behind the name. The man who wore the dual hat, the first one being a physician, and the second one being a realtor. In this dynamic world of New York real estate, I want you to remember this name, and the reason being that I am a seasoned professional whose journey is as distinctive as the cityscape that I operate in, being mostly Nassau County and Western Suffolk. Originally from Haiti, I migrated to the United States in 1969, where I pursued the American dream, being going to school, where I graduated from Wingate High School on to Hunter College, then SUNY at Upstate, where I got my medical degree. But the real estate was always a part of my life. And one of the reasons might have been the fact that coming in here as a teenager in 1969, all right, the first thing I remember is approximately, let's say April of 1969, because I never forget that snowstorm back then, up all the way in April. And 7 months later, a fire ravaged the building where we live. I will never forget that Saturday chaos on Eastern Parkway in Brooklyn. And when I say chaos, here we are in a new country, myself and my siblings, my parents, did not even know what to do until the Red Cross came in and we got shipped to a hotel in the city. Going forward, we wound up staying there while going to school in Brooklyn, because originally that's where we live, having to commute back and forth from, I believe, 40-something street in the city, bringing my siblings to school, going at that time to Wingate High School. But again, this is just, the background where that real estate came in, because at that time, there was a thing called rent control, where there were practically 6 of us. And for you to get an apartment in those days, all right, you eventually wind up getting the landlord apartment, which was not rent control, which means that they could ask you almost anything they want. And once they see that there were 6 to 8 people, 5 siblings, myself, and my parents, all right, you're talking about 8 people, so you needed at least a 3 to 4 bedroom apartment in those buildings. So I remember the first place we wind up was on Albany Avenue in Brooklyn, at the corner of Albany and Montgomery in Crown Heights. Okay, and that set the tone, because after that, almost everywhere you go, you had to get a lease, and they will never give you a lease for more than a year, because they already knew that they were going to increase the rent, because those larger apartments were not, rent control. So that set the tone for the real estate aspect, which we will discuss later on. So I went on, got my MD degree, and remembered as a third-year resident at Kings County Hospital. That's when I bought my first house, because after getting married, and I remember the day that we moved, that was the day that my first son, was born. And that translated into the fact that I said, hell, we are not going to go back to this having to, I'm talking about in terms of my parents, having to be renting. Then it had gotten worse in the sense that at one point in time, the same trouble with the family trying to find another rent control apartment. In the midst of all this, my parents were staying with some friends close to Prospect Park in Brooklyn, and my father wound up getting killed in one of those buildings. At the time, we didn't even realize how bad that neighborhood was. So you have the scar of that fire and a second scar, with the death of my dad. And we decided no more rent. We're going to go and buy a house, which my sisters and my mothers had got together and bought a house on East 31st Street. But that scar stayed there to the point where I made sure that every single one of them, I guess who wanted to, were able, to purchase their house. And that led into myself doing some, what I will call investment, and being the type of individual that I was, trying to help the needy. And some of the folks who, like myself, came from the island. Unfortunately, most people in those days who knew back in the 90s about rentals, and I'm pretty sure it's still going on right now, the tenants, they decided, well, if you can afford to buy a house, that means you have money, they're not going to pay you. So we wound up losing, especially myself, at least, 3 rental properties that I owned back then. And again, that's the background for what was about to happen. Because eventually, back in 1992, that's when I decided to get my real estate license and started back in the days with Fillmore Real Estate, with Jean Paul being my broker. And I still remember the days when we had to go to the office almost on a daily basis to find the new houses that came on the market. And you see how far we've gone from doing that now with social media, with Zillow, realtor.com, Redfin, and so on and so forth, the MLS, where, the minute a house gets on the market. But I mentioned this just to give you the background. And that background, it took a journey to get from back then in 1992, some 30 years later, still doing both of the passions that I call them. I call it from medicine to real estate, a dual passion. And that passion is still there, and that's the reason why I am, doing this video, so that I can tell you more or less who is the man behind the real estate. And over the past 3 decades, right, I've been able to balance the intricate responsibilities of healing and homeownership with transaction, left, right, center. Of course, the market, as we know, has turned on its head, not even on its side where you can push it around, turn on its head. And I will have another video to follow to go into the detail as to why that happened. But this one I wanted to dedicate to the fact that, yes, you can have this marriage between the real estate and medicine, I call it, and you have to be able to navigate, all right, the realm of what you want to do with the finesse that is required right now of real estate agents. There are those who feel like, oh, I don't need a realtor. Okay, good luck. Good luck. Okay? But when you look at the landscape of what's going on from the 90s to the present day, you could see the transformation that social media has had to put its imprint on the real estate industry, especially platforms like, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok, and now, YouTube. And I've told some of my colleagues in the real estate industry, if you don't know how to manage, you're never going to survive. And forget about whatever happened between 2020 to now. But you got to go the same way I do in my medical profession, where you have to be up to date with what's going on. You also have to be up to date with what's happening in the real estate industry. I've had a number of my friends who practically have let it go because they couldn't maneuver. And you trust me, you have to be tough to do what I call a balancing act, okay? Because on one hand, you have to keep up to date. The other hand, you really have to have the passion, and that passion is central, okay, to whatever you want to do, right? And what I've done in my situation is dedicate certain days, right? And that's require discipline. And if you don't have discipline, trust me, it doesn't matter what you do. You could be a banker, you could be an engineer, or anything else you want to do. But in this instance, we're talking about medicine and real estate. If you don't have that approach where you have a lot of dedication and so on, you're just not going to survive, okay? And you have to be present to the needs of your clients, be it this person who's sick or this one who wants to go and get what we call, the American dream, okay? In a sense, I look at it just like, music, which is another passion of mine. Still taking music lesson, by the way, but that's another story. You have to be able to harmonize, right, the demand of the profession, because everybody wants a piece of you, I call it. And the reason I say a piece of you is that you're going to meet folks who just don't know where to start. And that's part of the job of the broker, right? To teach, and teach. The same way when we talk about real estate, we say location, location, location. The broker has to be able to teach the clients, because people are going to call you and they figure, oh yeah, I know much more than you do, because they're online. They read, but they don't know who's writing the stuff that they're reading. There are folks who get online, they write about anything and everything, just like they're an authority. Well, I'm here to tell you, very, very rarely you're going to truly find the authority, because there are people, for them, just to get in front of the camera, all right, it's a joke. And they will put anything that's out there, all right? It doesn't mean that everything that they tell you, is gospel. So I make it a point. I just finished shooting another video that involved mortgages, and I would encourage you to take a look at that, because I had one of my colleagues who was a mortgage banker, actually, okay? And I had him go over the intricate aspect, okay, of mortgages, all right? Right now, the office where myself and my partner, Vidika, work is Keller Williams Realty in Garden City, the Keller Williams Realty of Greater Nassau. She's in Garden City. Actually, it's right in the mall itself, because once we, at the window, we're looking over, Macy's and Neiman Marcus and so on. And we sometimes joke with some of our clients, once they come out of an interview, they go across the way to shop. Okay, so we mostly in Garden City, work on Garden City, East Meadow, which is right to the south of us. But we're very versatile. At times we over at in Syosset, Plainview, eastern part of Nassau County, and we also work out of Dixills, Melville, which is the western side of Suffolk. Not too much deep into Suffolk County, but we thought Dixills and Melville, it's right there where we do have, but we also very, very flexible, and we able to adapt to what is going on in the real estate industry, especially as it deals with the mortgages. Just like now, I was just looking at an update where the Feds have decided to keep the interest rate where it's at, and it had come down considerably, which most of us didn't think it was going to happen. But they kept it, the interest rate, the same. And I'm mentioning it so that anybody who's watching the video, I will advise, especially the first-time home buyers, it could be anybody else for that matter, but challenge them, okay, to follow, okay, what is going on outside in the industry, but to get the information, what I call right from the horse's mouth. Because my job, I feel, extend beyond transaction. I mean, it's one thing to put pen to paper. Somebody sees a house, they like it, and so on and so forth. You have to be able to emphasize the fulfillment that comes with helping individual achieve the American dream. Because think about it. Most people who come here, why did they come here? If you ask them, they will tell you. And part of that American dream, I don't want to be biased, but I think the number one thing is for them to own a home, right? Most people feel like they fail, okay, if they were not able to buy a home. And the success stories that I always talk about are those that include families, okay, who collaborated, okay, to purchase a home. Because sometimes, there are folks who just can't afford it, but they get together as a family, okay, to afford, to purchase a home. Therefore, you help them get to that stage and that lasting financial security, because inevitably, okay, you're gonna get that appreciation. And I've seen it, time and again when somebody and I've many examples of folks who bought a house, and for whatever reason they either get transferred. The classic stories was one of my colleagues who purchased a house. I was able to help, then got transferred to another state, had to sell that house, and within a very short period of time had gotten such appreciation that did not lose anything. Okay? But my motto has always been, you have to be candid, okay, about things that you need to do. You also have to be candid about your aspiration for the future. And that's why I'm saying it, and I will say it again, that unless you put yourself into it, you'll never be able to succeed in this real estate thing. And you have to be able to watch the challenges that come about when you see the market fluctuation, okay? So my thing is eventually transition from, medicine. Let's say there's going to be a time when you decide, oh, you know what, my time is up. I need to retire. But if you retire, what are you going to do? And if you don't learn that second aspect, okay, then to me, it will be considered to be a failure. Like right now, we're looking more and more, myself again and my partner, at emphasizing the necessity of being like a seller's agent, and that has a lot to do with what is happening in the milieu where we are, especially in view of that recent lawsuit. And I know most people are aware of what's happening, talking about, buyer's agency, so on and so forth. I will have also a video where we will be, discussing that. So I also urge all the aspiring entrepreneurs who want to be into that real estate industry to be careful as to what they really want to do, because if you're not willing to put yourself into it 100%, I can guarantee you, okay, you will never, ever be successful. So, in closing, I have to tell you, you got to be, to survive in this milieu, you have to be able to be resilient, you have to be able to adapt to all the changes that are taking place right now. Okay, you have to be able to balance the complexity of the real estate and associate yourself with a mortgage banker who will be able to help most of your, if not all, okay, of your clients. So in my case, that the fusion between medicine is real estate. It's real. I've been doing it, and as I mentioned in passing, I put 1, sometimes 2 days out of my busy schedule where I, concentrate on the real estate aspect of my business. Okay, so be on the lookout for my mortgage video. I just shot it about an hour ago, so I will be able to upload it soon. Again, this is Guy Etienne from Keller Williams Realty. Thank you.